Right. So this is in context to the role of a business analyst, especially in the field of cloud environment, because as in when we already know, like as a business analyst, we are majorly focusing on understanding the requirements and providing solutions for any of the customer. In regard to that, being a business analyst, we try to understand the requirements of the customer and providing solutions in all means. In process of doing that, as a BA, when we are working on the cloud environment, how is it different? Because now and then many of the projects you see are moving from the old legacy systems to the new cloud applications. That's how generally the transformations are going on. In the process of it, how the transformation will be taken place, that's where generally we call it as migration projects, migrating from the old systems to the new system. That's how generally the migration process is happening. In regard to the migration process, as a business analyst, we need to understand the cloud environment, because when we want to provide solutions in the cloud environment, first of all, you must be knowing about the cloud environment, cloud services normally. Whatever the requirement gathering, creating some epics and user stories, maintaining product backlog, preparing some BRDs, functional, non-functional, epics, user stories, test cases, use cases, test cases. These are something common for any BA. Apart from that, being a business analyst from the cloud environment, we must be knowing about three services. One, we call it as AWS, which is called infrastructure as a service. Especially AWS is more prominent in that regard. Normally, we have 3 to 4 cloud service providers prominent. One is AWS, Amazon Web Services. Second, we have Azure, Windows Azure or Microsoft Azure, I can say. The third one we call it as Google Cloud and IBM. So these are 3, 4. We have many other, but prominent, I mean to say that. So irrespective of the cloud services that we have taken, irrespective of the domain, irrespective of the technology we are using in the application, first thing, what is that something you must be knowing about the services which are rendered here. So the first service is called AWS, which is called infrastructure as a service. Means if you want to manage any infrastructure is something we normally use it. Means infrastructure may be EC2, right? So all that stuff. This is all something infrastructure which is required for you to build an application or managing or creating an infrastructure for the customer environment. Because if you see some banking or financial applications, they want some private cloud services as private. Normally, there are two cloud services. One is public cloud service, and second is a private cloud. Public cloud services means the services as well as the space that we are providing from the cloud service point of view remains same for everyone. There will be no separate privileges will be given, exclusive privileges will be given. But when it comes to the private cloud, that is different. Private cloud means we create a separate cloud environment for them. At the same time, whatever the infrastructure that we want to manage, everything will be a separate. That is something we see when you're talking about separate cloud services. We need to have separate cloud service provider and we manage it. Okay, so we have separate cloud services, right? So everything will be mentioned in that. That's where generally infrastructure you require. You require some infrastructure, firewalls, everything is needed. This is called infrastructure as a service. Some customers want infrastructure services, they want. If they want to maintain their own data centers, their own firewalls, data center servers, that is a different story. If not, in cloud environment, we have to create our own infrastructure. To maintain the infrastructure, what requirements are needed, that's where generally as a BA we will be involved in it. So we need to identify what their requirements are from the infrastructure point of view. So what firewalls protection we required, some kind of virtual machines they have. And at the same time, they have multiple client systems spread across different places, wherein they connect to the cloud services. Everything comes under this category. Second, as a BA, we must be knowing about software as a service. What kind of software you are going to develop? The best example you can take Salesforce. Salesforce is a CRM application, or Guideware. Guideware is one of the software as a service application. Means we are developing a software exclusive for the customer requirements. Some CRM, okay, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics. If it is P&C insurance, property and casualty insurance, we are using some Guideware applications. These are SaaS, means software as a service. That's what we call it. SaaS applications are. To develop that application, assume that we are going to develop some Guideware application for property casualty insurance, right? So we have many things. We have policy management, we have billing, we have client, we have even claims. All these were there. So requirements you are gathering from the external stakeholders, business users, and trying to document that. That is required. That's the reason why you need to understand software as a service. This is point number 2. Point number 3, platform. We require to create some platform. Means to develop an application or a solution, you require some platform to be built with. Now and then this platform we are integrating even with DevOps environment, because earlier we don't have a concept called DevOps, because application used to develop and it will be given to the deployment team. Deployment team used to deploy the application. That's how the scenario earlier. But now the situations were completely different, wherein we are providing what we call we are providing our own these things. That's what something we are doing nowadays. Okay, we are creating a DevOps environment as separate. Both the development team as deployment team will be a part of it. So for that, they want to have different tools, like they'll be working on Jenkins, Kubernetes, Ansible, Negois. That's a different story, right? So they have to have some GitHub. They want to integrate that. This is all something comes under that category. That's where generally this platform as a service comes into picture. So understanding different platforms, how you are going to build, what kind of platform is required. Virtual platform, because this is a cloud services, we are creating a virtual platform to provide it. All these are comes under platform as a service. So if you are a BA, when you are trying to understand the requirements, when you're trying to understand the solution, business situation towards end of the day to provide some business solutions and all, there are 3 things. One is infrastructure as a service you require. At the same time, you must be knowing about software as a service, followed by platform as a service. These are the 3 different types of services which are part of cloud. Being a BA, we must be knowledgeable with, because infrastructure as a service were less in percentage. But I majorly, so out of my experience, I can say we focus on the SaaS part, right? So SaaS, because we in training even we are focusing on SaaS part majorly, because developing some software, developing an application, for that what requirements we have gathered. Or else there are some situations where they are migrating from old applications to the new application. That's where generally this migration comes into picture. Many projects are in the migration stage. Migration stage where we are migrating from legacy systems to new application. Okay, new system. That's where generally these legacy applications are coming to picture. We are transforming from legacy systems to the new system. That's where generally this migration come into picture. You are migrating from old applications to the new application. Legacy system comes under that category. So when you are migrating from legacy systems to the new system, when we are migrating, it's always important for you to understand what requirements do we have, and how this can be transformed, and how this can be how the data has to be validated, right? So what kind of ETL tools that are to be identified, because you have to extract the data, you have to transform the data, we have to load the data, right? So there are different stages are there in ETL process. At the same time, file formats might be something different. Earlier the file formats are something different, right? So because we have different file formats now, and then we are using some XML and JSON file formats where we are transforming the data. For that you need to clean the data, you have to create some staging environment to do that. All these are comes under the migration part. Okay, so as a BA, apart from the knowledge areas that we know, something like business analysis, planning and monitoring, requirement illustration collaboration, I can call it, right? So at the same time, enterprise or strategy analysis and requirement lifecycle management, requirements analysis and design definition, solution assessment, and data validations, etc. Apart from all that, this is also one of the core and important element as a cloud service provider we must be good with. Normally, we may good with anyone because AWS or cloud, because this is normally a customized requirements, because many people go for AWS, right? So some people may go for Azure, some people may go for cloud. Any one can be taken, because as far as the services are concerned, remains same. Okay, you don't see any difference comparing to the platform to platform. But how different services they are providing may differ. For example, if you take AWS, as I told you in the beginning, AWS is more prominent in the infrastructure side. Azure is more prominent in software side. Google is more prominent in platform side. Of course, it doesn't mean that other services they won't be. They'll be provided other services, but these are prominency in term context to that. Any one or two are helpful to you to do. That's what something which I'm doing. And from the next session onwards, any one or two is ideally enough to become a business analyst in the cloud environment. That's what we are going to discuss in the next week's session on this.